You write about what you know. I mean, poetry is all about you write about what you know, where you're from, and I feel like that kind of music. Why not make it personal?
This week's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Defy Sports. You can check them out at defysports.ie. Defy Sports are a sports apparel company based in County Louth. They have a couple of stores in Dundalk, County Louth, and they supply a multitude of sports apparel. This includes half-zips, t-shirts, training tops, retro GAA jerseys, retro rugby jerseys. They even supply school uniforms and a lot of other things too. You can check them out at defysports.ie, or you can contact them by email if you have a query about ordering something, orders@defy.ie. Big thanks to Defy for sponsoring this week's episode. On this week's episode of That Sound podcast, we have lecturer, music connoisseur, and Rory Gallagher fanatic Markas Howard in studio.
Yeah.
Markas, a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much. Delighted to be here.
Thank you very much for coming over.
You're more than welcome.
Markas is from the town of Dundalk.
One and only Dundalk, yeah.
Another loud man.
Very loud.
I'm outnumbered here 2-1, unfortunately.
Where are you from?
I'm from Carrickmacross.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry for your loss.
Family flowers only.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I've been a lecturer in Ofee, and I've been doing the Ballyshannon festival. I've interviewed a number of the Rory Gallaghers bands as well, and I do a bit of history and film documentary making and stuff like that, you know. But yeah, I am a bit fanatical about Rory Gallaghers, I would say, yeah, but in a good way, if you know what I mean, not in a creepy way.
No. Yeah, well, we're here to talk. Well, we're here to have an episode, the first ever episode, look at kind of an album of the week with a guest.
Yeah, an album of the week with a guest here. We're absolutely delighted to have Markas in studio. We had put up a poll on Instagram.
Yeah.
And we were talking about doing an album, a Rory Gallagher one in particular.
The 74.
You had picked the 74 album.
Because shamefully, I was telling Markas off air that I only recently listened to it about 2 or 3 weeks ago and was absolutely blown away. Like, oh my God. Like, I've heard the name, I know Rory Gallagher, but I never really got into it. And like from that opening track that we were saying, like, oh my God. But like, for maybe a few that is not too familiar, like me, Rory Gallagher was born on the 2nd of March 1948 in Ballyshannon.
Yeah.
Was that right in saying it was called the Rock Hospital?
The Rock Hospital,
yeah. Great name. They must have known.
Can't go wrong with a name like that. Yeah.
So Rory is known for his virtuoso style of guitar playing, and is often referred to as the greatest guitarist you've never heard of.
Yeah.
You know, a number of guitarists, including Brian May, Eric Clapton, many more. I think Jimi Hendrix as well have cited Gallagher as an influence on their career. And as I was talking to you, Luke, I don't know if you've seen the documentary as well,
I didn't get to watch it yet, but my father had told me about it, and my mother had told me about it as well, that I should definitely catch it on the RTE player.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was for someone like myself that's still learning. It was, I found it very good and very insightful to see his brother, and I'm sure we'll get into his brother and some of the other members of the band, and talking about his first band Taste and stuff. But so Rory was voted Guitarist of the Year by Melody Maker magazine in 1972. And he was listed the 57th greatest guitarist of all time by Rolling Stones magazine in 2015.
57th?
Wow, who's 56th?
It's not me anyway.
That's an awful snob, isn't it?
No, but one of the things though about him, right, is that, I mean, it was blues guitar. It wasn't like an Eddie Van Halen kind of virtuoso, you know, kind of solo, and an awful lot of his stuff was ad-libbed as well.
Yeah.
And he's creating original songs as well. Do you know, like he's fronting the band and he's playing lead and rhythm at the same time. And like if you look at like your Thin Lizzy's, like, okay, you're playing bass guitar, but it's easier to sing as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, with him it was very different, and he's in a 3-piece.
Yeah.
He's in a 3-piece for a lot of Taste, and for a major chunk of Rory Gallaghers' career as a solo artist. He's a 3-piece as well, yeah. But he, and an awful lot of it, like I say, they had no set list. They didn't know
Just
what
went
the
off the
next
cuff.
song. Yeah, off the cuff. They would be like on the flight of their pants. The band told me that they were going like, well, what song's next? I haven't a clue. Well, what song is this? Well, we'll see how this works out. You know what I mean? It was just, and even with sound checks, do you know what I mean? It was just, well, just plug it in. It's in tune. You know, I mean, that's what it should do. You know, but other bands would be like hours doing it. Yeah.
They were happy out once it sounded the way they wanted it to.
Yeah. And
My God, his sound was unbelievable.
It was really unbelievable. And one of the things though that you find even with like Band of Friends who are the band that currently have like Jerry McAvoy and them playing is that they
Jerry
use
was
some
the
of
bass player.
Yeah, is that they used some of the amplifiers now that would have played at the time, and the sound of it is phenomenal. Like, I mean, I'm a guitar teacher and I quite like, you know, a Marshall amp and hearing it, but Jesus, the sound that he had and what he could get out of that guitar and that amp was incredible.
He could basically make the guitar sing, couldn't he?
Oh, for sure, yeah. It's
Like-
that real iconic rock sound out of a Strat.
Yeah.
You know, it's the very desirable sound.
Yeah, and
very
you can get-
attractive sound that a lot of players look for.
But Brian May was asking him, like, how did you get that sound? And it was some sort of an equipment that I'm not too familiar with, that he had some way to get that.
Was that to do with the tube screamer in front,
Could
Marcus?
be.
Or
I think so, but I wouldn't be 100% in that. I mean, I do know that they like to say that they didn't have a lot of equipment, but they definitely did use the
good
one or
for
two
a sound.
pedals. Like, I mean, especially as the career went on as well. I haven't mentioned in the Band of Friends documentary what pedal it was. I can't think off the top of my head. Be wrong to give the wrong one. You know,
Yeah,
so.
but even his use of the slide on the guitar was just unbelievable.
Yeah, like if you think about this, right? This guy is born in Ballyshannon, right? And he's playing like blues guitar, like from the 1960s, which is like a show band kind of era, an awful lot of them, right? And he's now come along going, no, I'm playing like, you know, Big Bill Broonzy or like some like Blind Lemon Jefferson, Joe. And like, if you look at his surroundings, like he's not surrounded by this kind of music, but he laps it up. And the thing that is part of his appeal is authenticity.
Yeah.
And that's what people like about it. They like the fact that he doesn't need to put on makeup. He doesn't need to put on like some kind of military jacket and leather pants and pretend I'm a rock and roll star. He would come on in a check shirt and jeans. Do you know what I mean? And you'd be talking to him there, and then he's on stage exactly the same, looking like the people in the crowd.
Yeah.
And the people in the crowd are looking at him going, he's one of us.
Yeah.
And that's part of the appeal. And like, if you look at like Nirvana and Kurt Cobain and those kind of people, and you know, they'd often wear like your ripped jeans, your regular clothes. They didn't need to look like, you know, like the 1980s maybe glam metal.
stuff,
Yeah. But like, part of that appeal was, oh, there's an authenticity there. But Rory Gallagher was doing it like decades before.
Yeah,
You know,
true,
so-
true. I never thought of it like that. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
it comes across, what should I say, very evidently that he was himself, both off the stage, on the stage in his appearance, but also in his music.
Yes.
They say there's a great correlation in that when you're very honest
Yeah.
in your life, or you're happy with yourself or your own appearance, that it can also transmute into your music also.
Yeah, no, he was a lonely guy now. Like, I mean, like one of the things about like a lot of musicians, and you know as well, you're well-read guys in terms of music, but like sometimes you need the shield, I think, when you're a musician to kind of, like if you look at like, you know, I know this is a mad example to be given, but if you look like at the guys like from Slipknot, for example, they have a mask because they want to go about their daily lives outside it.
Slipknot.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you're like Shane MacGowan or whatever. It's like, you know, they're going to like put every fibre of themselves into the songs, perform them in front of like thousands of people who don't know them. And, you know, it's a very personal aspect of yourself you're putting out there. And it's, you know, you're quite vulnerable, I'm sure, doing something like that too.
Definitely.
He has a song called I Fall Apart that was just rip your soul to pieces.
Was that one
listen
on
to
the
it.
last album? wasn't it?
It's not on the Irish tour one, but it's always requested at Ballyshannon and it's such a lovely slow song, and a lot of people that I know, and this is what I can't get over, is when you go to something like Ballyshannon, which is like I was saying, a pilgrimage nearly for some people, in the sense it's like going to Knock, but for rock people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're talking about the Rock Hospital, it's like the Knock Hospital.
Yeah.
But anyway, the thing is though that you know, I've talked to people and they're going like their life has fallen apart either through sickness or personal struggles or family, and they've said that music for them healed them, like, you know. And I'm there going, what? Like, I like the music, I love the music, but I don't like it that much, you know. But for them, some people, that he was such a, but it's the purity of it.
Yeah.
And that's what appeals to people. Like, you got people coming from Germany, from Australia, to this little village
in Donegal.
In Donegal. Like, why? Like, why? Do you know what I mean? And it's like, you know, you were saying as well that you didn't really know Rory Gallagher. A lot of people don't know Rory Gallagher. Like, the big joke in college, the college that I teach in, is there's a sports teacher there, and he's like, Rory Gallagher, dirty football player. I'm like, who are you talking about? And he's going to me, who are you talking about? The other Rory Gallagher, you know? Yeah. And, but the thing is, though, this is the other thing about going to Ballyshannon, is, we were kind of joking about this, it's like Woodstock for older people, but with coffee and, you know, biscuits and donuts and, what is it? And you can manage it, you know, because you know, the average age group is like 40 and up, if you know what I mean. And they even had Canned Heat actually there only about 2 weeks ago, playing Going Up the Country. And you're like, oh man, this is amazing. Like the drummer that was playing at Woodstock is there in Canned Heat, you know.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was crazy, like. But it was really, really lovely that, you know. Michael Shankner and all them played as well.
I've seen your footage. Like, we'll chat about your place.
Shankner played.
Yeah.
He was a huge influence on Cork Hammett, funny enough, growing up. Yeah.
Really?
The Shankner brothers, because they played in the Scorpions.
Yeah, and Uli Van Roth was playing there this year. Am I saying his name right? Uli Roth. Yeah. He was playing as well.
You got the footage right up close to
Yeah. We know, but I like... The thing about going to a festival like that is you're not going to see a band, you're going for an experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's what's lovely. And you're also going to see old friends. Like, it's kind of mad. Like, I mean, I know these people from Austria.
Go every year,
and our whole friendship is based on, I'll see you at Rory Gallaghers. Yes, you will, Charlie. You know what I mean? Yeah. And yeah,
it's nice though, isn't it?
Isn't that brilliant? Yeah,
that's the power of music as well. Like,
power of music, bringing people together. Like, and that actually, you actually brought something up there that's kind of interesting. You know, you're talking about the Irish tour. One of the things was that album. He performed in Belfast a lot.
That's right.
And he performed in Belfast a lot at the height of the Troubles, like at the worst kind of part of the Troubles. And but he brought everybody together.
Yeah, it was like,
you know, like if you go to a football game, if you're at a football game, it's like, we won, you didn't, haha. You know what I mean? But for this, it was like, for those 3-4 hours, everyone's on the same side through music, like, you know. And if you look at, like, this is the thing that, you know, you kind of feel maybe a little bit annoyed at. You look at, like, maybe a Bob Marley biopic and you're going, oh, look, he healed with music, isn't that fantastic? He brought everybody together. And you're like, yeah, so did Rory Gallagher up in Belfast.
Yeah, true. Very true. Because I think I read that, well, it was like you just said, it was like an unwritten rule that there was no trouble allowed at the gig. And am I right in saying, I could be wrong, that there was 2 or 3 bombs went off the day
before? I think it was like something like 10 bombs or something.
And Rory was adamant, no, I'm playing.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm playing. And even Jerry McAvoy, who I asked, you know, I was like, and like, what was it like for you? You know, because he was from Belfast, the bassist, and he was like going, yeah, well, we were kind of like, you sure? Okay. Okay, he's doing it, right, we're doing it then, so. And but that meant so much to people.
Yeah, because so many artists were like skipping by Belfast.
Totally. And I understand why. Too. But the thing is, though, that meant so much then, because I remember interviewing a fan who saw him, and she said he brought light to the darkness. And you're like, Jesus
That's
Christ.
a big statement.
Yeah, and then she emigrated then to London afterwards. But like, you're like, Jesus, that's deep, you know?
But even, like, I read too that, like, obviously, like you said a few minutes ago about how Rory got his influence. In the documentary, it spoke about how he used to get the AM frequency from the American army who were docked in Derry in the Foyle. There was I don't know if I heard this, that there was like a radio station in Frankfurt that used to send out all the American blues music.
Oh yeah, was it Radio Carolina or was it the German? Maybe it was the German one. Okay, yeah. I remember reading about that. The radio station that
he used to get
do whatever he could to tune into that.
in
like,
Derry.
If you imagine that, we all got Spotify, so if you're there going, I want to hear like Blind Lemon's 1926 recording, you type it in, there it is for you. But for him, it's like, how many times is that going to come on the radio?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So he's going to be like, oh my God, how am I going to take all this in? How am I going to remember it even?
We were talking about this the other day with a guitarist I know called Michael Kulbaka. And I had talked to a couple of people about this before, Marcus, on the same wavelength of people in the 80s learning music or in the 90s or before streaming platforms, anyone before streaming platforms, regardless of what decade or generation, that haven't tuned into vinyls, but listen over and over and over and learn by ear.
Yeah. Or even I remember when I was learning guitar, like as a kid, and you go into a music shop and have a guitar book and you'd be there with a pen writing the chords in your arm. Do you know what I mean? So you'd remember when you go home, like,
That's unreal.
But like, you're right though, totally. Like, you had to learn.
Danny Hughes's to get the old chord books.
I see you've been there too. Yeah. He's worried about these two again. But
Connor's like, oh yeah, there he is on the weekly visit. Yeah.
We have his picture up on the wall. His pen again. but like the thing is though that you did have to learn by ear, and maybe that was a good thing in one sense, you know. But I do think though that in one sense we're kind of spoiled with the fact that you can get any music that you want.
Yeah.
And maybe that's also a bad thing in the sense because you're not as dedicated to look for it. Like if you know, so for example, if somebody's trying to learn guitar and they go onto YouTube, yes, there's lots of stuff, but there's no structure to it. Do you know what I mean? So you're like, I'm learning 25 songs all at the same time. Now I know nothing because I'm learning 25 songs at the same time. And that's the advantage. And I'm not exactly plugging, but for the Spirit Store guitar lessons, there's a structure there, which I teach them, with their beginner guitarists.
Yeah.
But that is great that you have a structure in your teaching because it's so important.
Yeah.
In any walk.
But even Michael said that as well.
Yes.
That guy Michael Kubaka who plays in Brian Downey's.
He plays in Brian Downey's Alive and Dangerous. He's one of the lead guitarists in that band.
But
very good.
Brilliant guitarist.
What was he, 13, 14?
Yeah, even younger he was
He learned Appetite for Destruction.
Oh, from 13 or 14, he learned Appetite by ear. He learned the Black Album by ear all through his secondary school years.
Oh, well then that's interesting because I've interviewed Eric Bell, Thin Lizzy, Whiskey in a Jar.
Yeah.
And I asked him, the riff from Whiskey in a Jar, how did that come about? I know it's a traditional song, but how'd you get the riff? And he goes, that's interesting. We were over in London, me and Phil Innes, and we were just messing, and we're playing like Dirty Old Town and all this, being real Irishy, and Whiskey in a Jar is nearly a joke. And because I think there's another song, was it Boys on the Back Street or something? Boys on the Street or something was going to be the main side A, but the producer would come in and said, no, this is brilliant. And he made him do it, and then he was trying to come up with a riff, and he couldn't come up with a riff for ages. And he was in a taxi in the 70s, and he heard like a song by the Chieftains, right? And he's going, oh, that sounds really good. Let me remember that. I know what I can do. This will really, really help with the intro for the guitar. And the taxi man wants to talk to him, going, all right, mate, how's it going? And he's like, don't talk. And he like runs into the house and he's like immediately on the guitar trying to like pick it out, But that's exactly what you just mentioned by learning by ear. Yeah.
That's mad. That's a good story.
That is a great story, yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to talk to Eric about that.
Yeah.
He's lovely. He's a lovely man. But one of the most interesting interviews I ever had, and I mean either with Irish history or with music, whatever, the most interesting interview was with John Wilson from Taste, who is a drummer who's like Ginger Baker from Cream in the sense of an absolute maniac on the drums, lovely man. I went to see him very ill, very, very ill. And he said to me, "No, I might only be 10 minutes, doing this interview." And I was like, okay. Because he didn't really do interviews anymore. 3 hours later, he's jumping up on the couch, doing air drums, going crazy. Like, it's like, oh my God, even talking to him was like a drum solo.
Full of enthusiasm.
Oh, full of enthusiasm. He was just electric, so he was. And such a lovely, decent man. Told me the best stories, told me all the clubs. See, this is the thing that I love, is when you interview a musician and they start telling you about the clubs that they go to, and then if you're making a wee documentary going, I want to visit that very club that you're talking about in swinging 60s London, and go, oh, they had a coffin there to greet people when they're coming into the club. Oh, I didn't know that. There's a picture. Wow, I didn't know that. Or they're talking about some club up in Belfast and you're looking at it. Oh, and you actually find the pictures of like maybe when Eric Clapton came over with Cream and they had a fight that they were talking about in the crowd, but some of the band were like in the audience, and you find the pictures. I love that. That's what makes it for me doing the documentaries.
There was a great story I was telling someone on the Eric Clapton thing, where you said what makes the documentaries of fun stuff is, Clapton's iconic Cherry Red ES 335.
Yes, yeah.
So that guitar was bought in Selmers.
What's it?
Back in 1964. It might have sat on the shelf for a while then and been picked up in the late 60s. But its comrade is in Ireland somewhere.
Oh.
So there was two guitars, or there were two Cherry Red ES 335 Gibsons in Selmers.
Yeah.
And Clapton went to buy his, and the rumour has it that he tested both of them. Jeez. And he picked his, but he had played and tried the other one and decided he preferred his over it.
Because that's the same guitar, sorry to cut across, but that's the same guitar that B.B. King uses, the Gibson ES335.
ES335. Yeah. Actually, Beat It Music, to give them a plug, has a lovely B.B. King ES335 for
I actually
sale.
played it. Yeah. I actually played it in the wee sound room going, can I have a wee go? Yeah.
What did you think?
It was lovely.
Loved it.
Lovely, yeah. But I don't know if I can afford it, let's say.
Well, that Cherry Red one was very expensive, but it ended up passing through the hands of Jimmy's Music Store in Dublin.
Okay.
Down to some very, very lucky collector.
Wow.
Who now has it.
Well, I have 11 guitars and I don't really need it. I only have two hands, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
What's your favourite guitar you have?
The Angus Young SG Gibson, absolutely.
Did you buy the signed one that was in Connors that time?
No. I signed my own one.
You signed your own.
Was there a signed one?
There was, and it didn't go for big money either.
Right.
He had told the story. He'd be a great man to get on, but the story went that it was a crew or a tech worker that worked in the O2 in London.
Okay.
And he had this Gibson SG.
Jesus.
Or the Angus signature.
Yeah.
And he had brought it to the AC/DC gig.
Right.
And they kindly obliged
Jesus, right.
him to sign it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fair play.
Fair play to Connor, as genuine as he is.
Yeah.
Didn't price gouge that he could have.
Wow.
Yeah, just sold it for the value of the guitar.
Jesus.
Not with the signature. And signed on the body and everything, it was absolutely fabulous.
Yeah.
Nice piece to have.
It'd be a really nice collector's piece, wouldn't it?
Oh,
They're a fabulous
lovely,
guitar.
I wanted to see them there in August now for their last gig. I don't know if it is. I presume it's going to be their last gig
in
August. Yeah. I've seen them 2 or 3 times before.
I've seen them twice.
That's how got me into music, was AC/DC.
Was it?
Yeah.
See, when you're 11 or 12 years old and Thunderstruck comes on the radio.
And the energy of Angus.
And you're like, oh my God, what is this? And I loved it. And then you dig deep and it's like, oh, the Bon Scott era and all that. Anyway, I'm probably going way off. Sorry.
This is
not at all. This is exactly
podcast.
what we do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let it go where it goes.
But AC/DC, oh yeah. So I'm 46. At Razor's Edge, I don't know. I would have been young anyway when it came out. But that's what kind of got me going. Oh my God, Money Talks. Then you dig into the Bon Scott era, And you're like, this is incredible. And they played Belfast, actually, in the 70s as well. They played the Ulster Hall, 78, 79, yeah, I suppose, yeah.
I couldn't get over the Ulster Hall. Like, it's not overly big.
No,
it's not.
It's tiny.
not
Like,
big.
you'd be surprised, actually. Like, compared to the Three Arena, you're going,
Exactly.
this is a hall. Well, yeah, Ulster Hall. But
Did I
like, yeah.
see that Led Zeppelin played Stairway to Heaven for the first time in the Ulster Hall?
Oh, really? I met him. Jimmy Page. Yeah,
Is it? Wow.
he was down in the Listowel Writers Festival,
Oh,
Okay.
way.
and his girlfriend was reading poetry down there, and I got a picture with him, and it was kind of cool actually, because I was like, look, I know you don't take pictures, but I'm a guitar teacher, and it really helped with the old business there if they took a picture, just being honest now. And he laughed, like, and he said, oh yeah, no bother. He's really, really nice now, I have to say. Really, really very friendly man.
Yeah, we had Evan on from...
Evan Walsh, that would have played with the Stripes,
Oh yeah.
told an absolutely brilliant story of the guys playing a gig in London.
Right.
And Jimmy's daughter is a photographer.
Okay.
And she had photographed some of their gigs in London. And she had told her father about this band that he should pay attention to. And he was like, Dad, you really like this band. So they had talked about playing the gig, a very, very high energy set.
Right.
Came off, they were toweling off. Said this man was sort of like aggressively patting them on the back, was very, very impressed, well done, and said it was sort of like he was really going for it more than anything. And they're like, who the fuck could this be? He was like, and it was Jimmy Page.
How's yourself? Yeah. How's it going?
Imagine Jimmy Page congratulating
You're like,
him.
Jesus, there he is.
Jimmy. But,
Yeah, no, but the I thought he was a lovely, lovely guy to talk to, and again, Led Zeppelin as well. Like, I mean, that classic blues rock, and I mean, you could even bring us back to Rory Gallagher in the sense of, like, an awful lot of AC/DC, an awful lot of Led Zeppelin. I know Led Zeppelin are more experimental, but a lot of it's based in blues rock, And if you look at Irish music, so one of the things that I tried to do was to find out, I run this thing, Irish Blues Stories, because I was like, there's all these bands, and it's like, My Baby Done Left Me in New Orleans. It's like, you're not from New Orleans. You're from down the road.
Cullyhanna.
Yeah, exactly. But why can't you have the Cullyhanna Blues? Do you know what I mean? If that's where you're from, do you know what I mean? It's like, and then everyone from Cullyhanna would be like, oh, class, they're playing the Cullyhanna Blues. Like, do you know what I mean? Why not have a bit of pride in where you're from than pretending to be from somewhere that you're not?
Yeah.
And that's what I love. Like, and so anyway, so
Someone in Dundalk talking about the checkpoint on the Coast Road.
oh, here, listen. Well, that was the
There's no
thing.
dog in the back.
One of
There's
the
a barrel of diesel.
one of the first songs I ever wrote when I was a kid was I got the droll, drunken, drastic, dreary, drinking Dundalk blues. And I was just like, you know what?
Oh, you wrote a few songs?
I just messed when I was younger, like, But what was it? It was like, but why the hell not? Do you know what I mean? It's like, what's stopping you from doing
exactly.
that? You write about what you know. I mean, poetry is all about you write about what you know, where you're from, and I feel like that kind of music. Why not make it personal?
Fair play to another local man, a man from your own town, David Keenan, does a bit of that.
Yeah, he does actually. Yeah,
And the Mary Wallopers.
Yeah.
Mary Wallace
really
are
good.
absolutely class, and it's brilliant.
Great for that.
It's brilliant what they do because
Authentic.
you feel more authentic. Or even Jinx Lennon, when he's singing about St. Bridget's Shrine, or proud to be nobody from County Louth, and you're there from Louth, going, oh yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
And that's the people in Chicago, when they go on Sweet Home Chicago, they go, I relate to that, I'm from Chicago.
Yeah.
So I just think, so that, anyway, long story short, that's where I kind of was going around going, how did you get into the blues? Is there such a thing as Irish blues? And actually, this is the thing, it's more blues rock. You know what I mean? It's more blues rock than straight blues in Ireland. It's not like My Baby Done Left Me. If you look at like the Rory Gallaghers, if you look at a bit of Horselips, if you look at a bit of
Gary Moore
as well, like, I mean, he does some very, very sweet straight blues, but then he gets really, really like very hard blues rock. Like,
I would say to Gavin, like Walking by Myself is one of my favourites.
That's a class song.
And just when it takes off of that, and
Yeah.
it just absolutely sends it in the solo.
Yeah.
It's like a frenzy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And some of the stuff actually, like I covered like the Phil Lynott convention, which is on every year in Dublin. And actually Brian Downey's band was sometimes play there. But the thing is,
Was that the one that was in the Button Factory?
yeah, that was one of them. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And but one of the things that is brilliant about some of the music when you dig in deep, and I didn't realize this, was how Celtic influenced some of the music was. Like being Irish is very important to fill in it. There's an
Yes.
interview, and
Yeah, I'm Irish. And when he's on the stairs.
Yeah,
with
and then
BBC,
but then if
yeah.
you listen to the music like Roisin Dove, you know, the Black
I
Rose.
was going to say, I was just about to quote that at the end where he's talking about Brendan Behan.
Yeah.
And he's talking about the poets. He's talking about was it Cuchulainn and Finn McCool and
and it's like, and then Horselips did the same thing. Do you know what I mean? With their singing about on Jerry Doon or whatever,
Yeah,
you know.
Doon, yeah.
And Gary Moore does some songs of his as well, where he's like, you know, talking about Ireland or over the hills and far away, which has definitely got Celtic vibes to it. And it's kind of interesting to hear. Then Rory Gallagher, he's done some instrumental stuff, like his own instrumental takes on She Moves Through the Fair, or some of the stuff is blues rock, but then with a Celtic twist, or you know, and it's fascinating to hear how he kind of distills it and puts it back out. It's very unique in that sense. But anyway, the thing is, it's like, well, why can't there be a pride in that? Why can't there be, you know, and why can't there be more of that? You know, why does everybody feel like, oh, I can't do that, I can't be me, you know, dap the hat or whatever, you know? Like, I mean, other music genres to do.
Yeah, no, I agree 100% what you just said. Yeah,
no, for sure. I always enjoyed that, especially about Roisin Dove with the Black Rose by Thin Lizzy. Even the opening, you know, tell me the stories of long ago.
Yeah.
And then if you listen to Emerald, you know, like that
Down
guitar.
by the Glen.
Holy God! It's like the equivalent of when you're 8 years old and you watch Rocky.
It is. It
you know,
feels
and afterwards, and somebody actually edited a battle scene from Braveheart to Emerald, and it's the best video I've ever seen on social
God,
media.
I have to see that.
Yeah,
We must have a look at that. That'd be brilliant.
It's mental. But the thing about about the hard rock music that they do. So it's mostly blues music in Ireland is blues rock based. It's blues, but with a bit of an edge to it, I find, and I love that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like I have a lot to explore because I love it.
And with him, with Rory Gallagher, like there's different albums that, like, I mean, you'll get different vibes from. Like, I mean, later on in his career, he's more straight blues, but in the early 70s, even late 70s, I would say that's the peak time to get him.
Yeah, from what I've read, like, I think the fan favourite is that live album.
Oh yeah, because the music is better live, even with Ballyshannon and stuff. Like, when you go, I mean, and you hear it live, it's a million times better. It's a million times better even when I've recorded it. And suddenly you're playing it back, it's like, oh, it's not really the same as when you're there.
No. It's not the same as when you're there, because
when you have that
sound,
energy,
that sound. I was telling Gavin, I was at a Tool gig last week.
Oh yeah.
So I went to see Tool last Wednesday night in Paris, and Adam Jones, the guitarist, had a rig of 3 amps. What looked like 2 diesel VH4s and a modded Marshall Plexi by the looks of it.
Wow.
And it was one of the loudest gigs I've ever been at. Now, I was 15 rows from the stage, as it was all seating on the floor in France. But the sound was just absolutely monstrous.
Really, yeah.
And the videos don't do it justice, as you said. I watch them back and they're loud and it's great, and it's funny, it didn't like make the phone clip or anything, but I would wear hearing protection at these gigs, as I find my hearing has suffered with playing for so many years, even with the hearing protection, and it was like my ears without them were just ringing.
Clapton says that he's got a constant ringing in his ears. He says that in the programme that you get when you go to the concert, that, you know, probably tinnitus or something. Like, and you kind of, even when you're filming up the front, you're kind of going, geez, you know, there'd be no harm to actually do some protection, because you can only sustain it so long. It only needs to happen once. Do you know what I mean? And,
yes.
But the thing is though, that I find about music like a festival like this, so maybe like Ballyshannon, or is, although a lot of the music is covers, it's not just covers bands that are going, do you know? So like we had the Canned Heat that were playing, we had Horselips that played there before, but like an awful lot of original music. There was a band from Holland who I never heard, called The Wolf, right? And one of the songs is 27 minutes long, right?
way.
And he jumps off the stage into the audience, starts singing to the audience for about 10 minutes. So everything was just ad-libbed, everything was just...
Off the
and
cuff.
everyone just loved it. That's the thing, like people want the 7 to 8 minute guitar solos there. That's what I mean why it's kind of like Woodstock. If you look, I love the Woodstock documentary, like love it.
Yeah.
But if you ever look at that, like a lot of those guys are just ad-libbing what they're doing music-wise on stage. And as an audience, you nearly feel that you're more involved in the music because you're part of an experience.
100%. I couldn't. Yeah.
But if it goes wrong, it crashes and burns. You know?
But like you were saying, like with your filmmaking and stuff like that, I'm sure, not putting words in your mouth, but like you said, at that Ballyshannon Festival, when you're recording and you have that feeling of the music, you know, we all get it inside you, and you're like, this is the best stuff ever.
Oh, totally.
And like you said, and you look back, you're like, the energy's not with it.
Yeah. And sometimes it is. And sometimes,
I'm just saying.
And that's why it's handy to edit if you got like 3 or 4 cameras. It's kind of because you can give you the sense of that.
But my point is, like, it's never as good unless you're there to feel.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
you have
that
to do it.
wall of sound in your chest.
Yeah.
When we talked about our first gigs, or you would have went to a gig when you were younger, much like myself, and the kick drum, you know, hit
you
in
can
the
hear
chest.
it in your chest.
To start. And even yesterday at Limp Bizkit, because we were close to the stage,
like,
I was getting that for the first time in a good while. It was like,
but even the Tom Morello
nice.
thing, like if I watch that footage, like
it wouldn't be the same.
Tom Morello done a tribute to Chris Cornell. He played Like a Stone, and he did a small talk on Chris Cornell, and he just put the hand up as he does, and he played the solo. And man, I was like, I started crying, man. I'm like,
Really, yeah.
Oh man, I love Chris Cornell. I love him.
Me too.
And you could feel it was genuine hurt that he was, you know. You watch that on telly, you don't get that.
I know what you mean.
You don't get that.
I know what you mean.
You know, it's part of the, like you said, you're part of that moment.
Yeah.
It's not him on the stage. Everyone's connected.
Even Guns N' Roses, 3 days after he killed himself, they played...
That's right. That's right.
Audio Slave, or... No, it was Soundgarden's Blackwell Sun, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Was that in Slane?
Yeah.
Was Slane?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
How's that?
And...
Did they play it at Slane?
They did.
Yeah.
They did.
And because I remember, like, we were really like, oh my God, you know. And the thing, I saw Smashing Pumpkins there on Monday.
Yeah.
And,
how was it?
Oh, it was great. He didn't play... He played some covers. Sorry, he played some hits, is what I mean to say. He didn't play like every hit that you know. He did some from the more recent album in 2001 didn't really do as well.
What was the big song?
Today, and Disarm was another one. But Weezer were supporting, and Weezer were class.
I heard by a couple of people.
Every time I think of the Smashing Pumpkins, I think of the line out of The Simpsons. The one of when Billy Corgan's like, Billy Corgan smashing pumpkins.
Oh yeah.
And Homer's like Homer Simpson smiling politely.
Yeah, because they're a tad. I mean, like I love them, but they're a tad like maybe a little bit pretentious. Like, I mean, as
he was meant to be difficult, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's meant to be very difficult, and like even like 1 or 2 of the band t-shirts was like, "This is." It's just writing that says, "This is a band t-shirt." I don't know why you need like a picture. And you're like, I'm not going to pay 50 quid for that. Do you know
yes,
what I mean?
like this is a band t-shirt.
Yeah,
but I heard by a couple of people that Weezer kind of blew them off the stage.
I thought that.
Yeah.
I'm one of them who would have thought that.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Weezer
I've been
are really good live, like really good.
Weezer are like
underrated.
Yeah,
they're like Radiohead's happier cousins.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They're just like, and you're like, oh, I know that one, and I forgot about that one.
Radiohead's got medication.
I remember seeing something about that. Gavin was like, that'd be if Deftones all went to therapy or something. Weezer.
Well, Weezer didn't get to go to the Playboy Mansion to shoot a video, so.
Well, yeah, true. But the thing was, the thing at that gig was like everybody at it, like is old now. Do you know what I mean? It's like everyone at that is like in their 40s, 50s or 60s. But like for those 2 or 3 hours, you felt like a teenager gang, because like, oh my God, I'm back in '94.
Yeah.
There's Weezer. There's Smashing Pumpkins. You know, and it's the same thing with the Rory Gallagher thing, I suppose. You know. And by the way, about the Rory Gallagher thing, that festival in Ballyshannon, there's festivals for him in Holland, there's festivals for him in Italy. You know what I mean? Like it's all over the place. Yeah, there's festivals for him in England. There's all over the place. That like, what other music artist is there that does that? Like, where's the Jimi Hendrix Music Festival?
Yeah.
You know, that's something that's interesting about that.
Yeah,
it is very interesting. I always remember that when I was learning to play guitar and I was getting into all the different guitarists of the day, my father would always say, check out Rory Gallagher.
Yeah.
He said, Jimi Hendrix used to say, you know, when someone had asked him what's it like to be the best guitarist on earth, he says, I don't know, ask Rory.
You see that now? I don't know if that's like if that was like a myth that kind of got out of control.
Yes,
or not.
I'm not too sure either. I just remember my father quoting it to me.
It's kind of like Robert Johnson selling the soul at the crossroads. Like, it's a good way to sell an album. Good
Yes.
PR there.
Yeah.
Don't think that actually happened. But I think what happened there was, if it was said, it was more like a Jimi Hendrix was just very downplaying of himself.
Yeah, deflecting.
Kind of thing, and deflecting and picking somebody at random.
But he was appreciated, and he was he did influence, definitely.
Oh yeah. And your man John Wilson was saying, he was talking to, there was a guy called Henry McCulloch who used to play in Wings.
That's
right?
right.
He played with Joe Cocker.
He played Woodstock.
Yeah. And he has this story, John Wilson, and him
Was
and
Henry the bassist?
yeah, I think he was, yeah. But the thing was that they were saying, you know, the one of them was opening up for Cream and one of them was opening up for Jimi Hendrix, and they're going, could you imagine, you know, any other band going, oh, we'll open up for Cream, we'll open up for Jimi Hendrix, except an Irish band. Everybody else would be like, oh.
Yeah.
But for the Irish people, it'd be like, it's just a gig, give us the money, they're just people.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get to a few pints after. This
yeah.
might be a bit of crack.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But and one thing that I do think as well that gets overlooked is everybody kind of talks about Rory Gallagher, but you have to talk about, and they don't get the recognition. The other musicians let him go crazy. Like, if you imagine going on with no set list and you're the bass player, you're the drummer,
You have to be prepared for
you
anything.
have to be ready for anything. Like, you know what I mean? It's like strap on. It's like Rambo.
Me, that's First Blood. Murdoch.
Coming for you.
Yeah. You know,
That is a true statement. And like we said, like, they didn't get maybe some of the recognition that they deserved.
No. I think like fair
The
play.
album
And like, I mean, there's still Jerry McVoy's still playing, and I mean,
the keyboard player was insane.
oh yeah, the keyboard player this year or
No,
back then, yeah, he was incredible. So he was
Like
absolutely,
the speed of him.
yeah.
Oh my.
On that note, what about the keyboard players with Eric Clapton?
Yeah.
How good were they?
They were very, very good, and I have to say, and I love like something like a Moog organ can really, really like heighten, like, you know, how a band can play or the feeling that you get. You know, it can nearly be a extra guitar in a sense. You know.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. It's like a full solo, and especially in some of them songs. I'm sure we'll get into it.
Just unreal.
Too Much Alcohol, I think, was one of them that I really enjoyed. But like, I was watching the footage, and like it's almost like a solo guitar. Like
Yeah, and he's very good at playing the crowd in that one because he's like 94%.
Yeah,
95%.
Yeah.
And you know the crowd's just waiting, you know,
Yeah,
and he's
yeah.
nearly like teasing them, it's coming, you have to wait though, you know.
I think my favourite song, Marcus, on the album, from giving it a good spin the last few weeks, is Walking on Hot Coals.
Oh yeah.
My God.
That's such a story. It's nearly like it's very hard rock, nearly. Like,
Yes.
you know what I mean? It's anytime I've seen that played live, audience has gone ballistic to it.
Yeah.
You know, there's 3 songs that the audience always goes nuts for, and not every song that they do is on that album, but A Million Miles Away is on that album, and they
Okay.
go crazy for that. It's a slow one, okay. But it's more like a ballad. But Shadow Play.
Yes.
Oh my God! Everyone's the whole festival just go whoa.
I would have felt that was more hard rock, as you'd say, maybe compared to blues.
Yeah,
you know,
it is.
especially with that opening riff of the playing on the chords as sort of down picking.
Oh, it definitely
you know?
is. It definitely is. But like, I mean, he would then also do like, you know, acoustic, and he'd be like, you know, it'd be like a kind of nearly a skiffle kind of thing, you know, like a Lonnie Donegan kind of a style of song as well. Like They may have music genres he could do, and he also could play the saxophone, by the way.
Yeah. And the harmonica.
And the harmonica as well. And they were very influenced by jazz musicians, which surprised me in terms of attitude, in the sense that they weren't sure what they're going to do. They're going to live and die on stage. There's never going to be a same kind of performance over and over. And I found that fascinating, that even with John Wilson and them to be talking about all these sort of nearly avant-garde jazz musicians that I wouldn't have known about. And I'd be very like, I would like my maybe a bit of 1930s, 1940s, like old school New Orleans jazz, but I wouldn't be into the avant-garde kind of stuff. But they would. They were mad into it. And the more
so avant-garde, isn't it?
It is very technical. It's very intentional.
Yeah.
That is the
even
biggest
the drumming,
thing.
jazz drumming.
Jazz drumming is absolutely amazing. Like, that's skill.
But
I'm not saying that other drumming isn't, but there was some real.
But as you were saying to me
ability
during the
showcased.
week about, obviously, you know more being a guitarist, like the stuff that we listen to now, we'll say Metallica or this or that, like even Kirk Hammett was quoted on that podcast, like
The Metallica report that he
jazz
enjoys.
stuff is so much harder to play.
Yeah.
Well, if you think of, I'm sure this is a guitarist you mightn't be familiar with, but a guy called Charlie Hunter.
Right.
If you check out some of Charlie's stuff, that'll blow your mind. He's an absolutely incredible guitarist.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Why?
Some of the jazz shapes that he can play.
All
He
right.
plays a mix that he plays almost a hybrid of a bass and an electric on the one instrument.
Yeah.
And
It's very
just,
hard to do.
Yeah, just some of the stuff that he comes up with.
Where's he from?
He's from the States. I'm not sure exactly where, but he would have played. I first came across him. He collaborated on a song with John Mayer. There's an 18-minute video of it on YouTube.
Jeez.
In the song In Repair, it was recorded, I think it was at Electric Lady in New York.
Okay.
With Steve Jordan and Charlie Hunter. And it was like a one-day thing.
Yeah.
So they went into the studio together and they came out with this song at the end of it.
Yeah.
So after that, a good friend of mine and someone I would have studied drums with by the name of Carter McLean, who has the Lion King gig on Broadway,
Oh, right, okay.
was good friends with Charlie. And they would have played some trio bits and pieces together. So then I would have paid a little bit more attention to that.
Yeah.
He's just a fabulous player, and he's also a really, really good drummer.
Yeah.
Which is
Man.
which is crazy as well.
Multi-talented.
If you're an audience member though, and you don't have the ear for it, do you know what I mean? Like people who are into that music, you would experience so much if you have the ear for appreciating that. If you don't, they're going, why are you playing all the wrong notes?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like, but they're not. Do you know what I mean?
But there's some of these people that can make what people perceive to be the wrong notes right.
Exactly.
And I always think of that Miles Davis quote.
Oh, I know it,
You know the one of
if it's not the wrong note, it's the next note.
It's the next note.
Yeah.
Do you know and I thought about that just when you had said about those guys living and dying on stage and they weren't afraid to take a dive, or they were sort of keeping the train on the tracks when it was just about to derail.
Yeah.
Was that quote from Miles of saying, it's the next note.
Yeah.
Play the wrong note. And that's a really, really good mark of a great musician.
Yeah.
Is how they can improvise and adapt on stage to
It's a good mindset
somebody's-
too, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like
somebody's mistake, or maybe not what the audience might perceive to be a mistake, and then they bring it
Exactly,
in another
yeah.
direction.
And even from a band though, just from a band's morale, you're going, okay, singer, I've been shining for ages, your time to shine. Do this 6-7 minute drum solo, go nuts, go crazy, have your moment if you
like a really, really enjoyable jazz listen.
Yeah.
The live album Miles Davis's My Funny Valentine
Okay.
is absolutely incredible, and the story behind it is they found out an hour or two or a couple of minutes before they went on the stage that the promoter had shafted them and was not going to pay them for the gig.
Okay.
So they had said, we're going to give this crowd something to remember.
Right.
So they played nothing conventional from Miles' stuff, and they just turned the speed up and down and went for the most outrageous stuff.
Oh,
And
really?
it was just absolutely class.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah,
young
definitely check
Tony
that out,
Williams
yeah.
on drums, just absolutely murdering it.
Deadly.
Incredible.
Deadly.
Incredible.
Good recommendation.
Yeah, very good recommendation. Miles Davis, very funny Valentine.
Another person that I interviewed that was a musician, I interviewed him about 2 weeks before he died. His name was Pat Farrell, and he was very respected, like Dublin blues musician. He would have played in a band called The Business, and he would have been with Don Baker and
Great
stuff like
band
that.
name.
Yeah,
Business.
yeah.
That's brilliant band name.
But he was
isn't
like
it?
really respected. Like all the blues musicians like knew him, and I was going around interviewing everybody, and like they're all going, "Oh, you have to interview Pat Farrell," and I was like, "Who's Pat Farrell?" And I didn't know, right, because I wasn't from Dublin. But anyway, I looked him up on YouTube, checked him out, and I was like, "Be any chance? I wonder if I'll message him on Facebook." So he happened to reply, and I went to visit him. He gave me like an address, like you guys did. And I arrived in a sort of like an old folks home hospital, and he had a guitar there, but like none of the doctors knew who he was, you know. And I was there showing them like YouTube videos. Like, look at the phone, this guy's like really, really famous. Like, oh my God, we had no idea, Pat. Why didn't you tell us? But anyway, that really made his day. But he died in 2-3 weeks after that, and then on what day was it? It was only a few days ago. In the Olympia, there was a Pat Farrell tribute night, and all the musicians came out. Rob Strong, Mary Stokes Band, everybody came out. It was really, really lovely to see him remembered, because he kind of died around the time of COVID, like as well. You know, so
they couldn't celebrate his life in the way that they would have liked to.
So it was really, really lovely that, and then in Belfast, then there's other musicians like Rob McCullough, he's like a local hero for the city. So you have these two cities, and in Belfast. It's a guy called Rob McCullough who died of a heart attack, but he united the community so much. The Belfast City Blues Festival has a Rob McCullough stage because I'm just a working class guy, you know, and same thing with Pat Farrell down in Dublin. What's interesting is though, like both cities, they kind of, I don't know, they don't really come down as much, or the Dublin ones don't go up as much. I don't think there's any reason for it. I just think you know, they're popular in their area and it's easier in terms of travel or whatever. But there's loads of little pockets around Ireland, like Monaghan, which is mad for
the blues festival.
It's mad for blues. Like,
love blues.
Like in Monaghan, you're going like, what the hell?
Yeah,
like, you know,
the Grania Duffy band,
the Grania
Paul
Duffy
Sherry.
interviewed her. They're lovely
Paul
guys,
Sherry,
lovely guys. And what was it? And then in Donegal, in Belfast, in a little bit of Derry, I suppose a little bit of Cork. But, you know, like, that's kind of it. It's pockets around the country.
There seems to be, and we've talked to a couple of guests over the last season and stuff, like, there seems to be something happening in Ireland in all genres.
Yeah, there seems to be
seems to be some sort of a movement
really
or something.
rising again, like an uprising again in the music scene.
Yeah,
it'd be lovely to see, because it's very hard for bands to make it. Do you know what I mean? Like, especially like, you know,
especially
like,
in this day and age.
Well, if you look at like the bands we were talking about, you went to see two.
Yes.
How long have they been around?
35 years.
Smashing Pumpkins.
Years,
how long have they been around? Weezer. How long? We haven't been going. I went to see a new band. Do you know what I mean? Like, there is that too. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I'd be very supportive of new bands.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they need the sort of environment to let that happen. My thesis was called Rockonomics, by the way.
No way.
Yeah, a music marketing model for County Loud, Rockonomics. And it was a business marketing degree I was doing. It wasn't like a music degree. But I do think that you need the venues. Like, I mean, the Spare Store are great. Yeah. But, you know, and Tolls is good.
The Academy. Tolls is very good.
Yeah,
Tolls are extremely supportive of up and coming bands.
But there is,
they really make an effort.
There seems to be a lot of metal at the minute.
No, and it's great to see that. Actually, it is great to see that. I mean, I love heavy metal.
Yeah, Words That Born. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them.
I know.
From Dundalk.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
For Not, Levain.
Right.
You know, some.
That's this band that we're going to check out soon. Four-Way Mirror too.
Four-Way Mirror.
Oh, cool. Right. Okay.
There's
Hero and Arrow, another band.
Yeah, Shadows Calling from Cork.
They are very good if you haven't checked them out.
The female lead singer, she's brilliant. Who else do we? There's like even the Scratch. Like they are another level now. They've been told.
Oh yeah.
And another band very proud of their heritage, proud to be Irish. You know, throwing in, as you said, the stories of home or the stories of Ireland. singing about those things. What's local to them?
Yeah.
There's some absolutely brilliant ones. And
Do you know who's a really interesting one, especially if you like kind of grunge music and like blues music just doesn't do your thing? Crow Black Chicken, they mix grunge with blues.
Yeah,
it's class.
Oh, brilliant.
They are a brilliant band.
They won the Battle of the Bands over in Shercock.
Oh, did they? Yeah.
Did you ever hear that story?
No.
So there's a guy in Shercock that has a connection. I'm living in Shercock now at the minute. He's a connection to Glastonbury.
Okay.
His partner her father owns the land or something, right? So he had a pub at the time in Shercock, and he said, right, I'm going to do a Battle of the Bands.
Okay.
And the winner is getting a slot in Glastonbury.
Right.
So Crow Black Chicken ended up winning it. And they have quoted that story in a lot of interviews that their big break was in Shercock and County Cavan, where they won a Battle of the Bands. And they got to play on one of the smallest stages in Glastonbury. Yeah.
Wow.
But I've watched.
Still counts.
Yeah,
still
man,
counts.
100%. Their YouTube stuff on the gig in Whelan's a good few years ago. What's the guy's name? Christy. Yeah. And the bass player is Stephen. Yeah. I was chatting to him not too long ago. He's going to come on, I hope.
He's brilliant. You should get him. He's
a good podcast himself.
Yeah, he's fantastic, man. And I
think he interviewed
Jerry as well. Yeah,
Jerry,
he did. Yeah. And he
Christy's sound. Oh shit.
Oh, it's brilliant, isn't it?
And the way he sings.
Yeah. You're like, oh my God, the power that comes out of that man.
They are a really damn good band.
And they look great.
You think they're from Louisiana.
Yeah.
And then he's from Tip, I think, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, Tip area. Yeah.
And like he speaks, and you think it's this big bully Southern American. It's like, oh, he won by.
And the first time I met him, I was like, to Stephen, I says, we don't mind me saying this, but you kind of sound like Howlin' Wolf crossed with Nirvana. And he's like, oh yeah, we're a bit grunge, like, yeah.
They're so good, very, very good.
Yeah.
John, what's the song? John the Revelator.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah.
And his sound on that guitar is epic. I think they played on the Saturday or the Sunday up in Ballyshannon this year.
Sunday. It was just an afternoon gig this year, but they did play the Big Tent.
The year I was supposed to go
2 years ago. That was the first year after COVID. And that was an amazing gig. I was delighted.
We have to mention Pat McManus too.
Pat McManus is a legend. Pat McManus's work ethic is incredible. Pat McManus is like, he's the kind of guy that's a music legend that's still going all the time.
Unsung hero too, though.
And and I'm sure he's got lots more on the road in him. But he's the kind of guy, because he's always there when he's gone. Like, I mean, people be like, oh my God, that guy! Did you see him? Yeah. He plays on a Saturday night, right, in Ballyshannon for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Then in the Sunday afternoon, he played like a 3-hour gig up at the Gables in Ballyshannon.
Up at the statue,
like non-stop, like man's work ethic. He's always on the road. He's always touring. He's a very, very nice man, very humble man.
Very humble.
What was it? And very energetic when a great interviewee. When you're asking questions, I found myself fascinated by him, especially when he talks music.
Yes,
you talk music.
His knowledge is unreal.
Just. And again, he will bring in fiddle playing with the blues music, with the rock music, and
he has it all.
And what he can do, how he can just spin the audience around. He's got a lovely manager as well, Sally, and the drummer is fantastic in that band. He's really, really good. Doesn't get nearly enough credit. Like, I think
he's a lovely Rory Gallaghers as well. I had a crack with him the night we went to Drumconrath to see him play. He was very nice to talk to.
Like, it's very, very easy just because the name is Pat McManus Band, Rory Gallagher Band. You just see the one person, but they're only great because also of the musicians too, letting them. Yeah, he's brilliant, so he is. And so unassuming. Like, I've never seen him without sunglasses.
Yeah,
but he's
Pino
brilliant.
Palladino.
Yeah. Is that
we're actually going to check him out Saturday night. He's playing
One Ireland Rock.
Oh yeah, that's when he's brilliant actually. The guy from the Answers in that.
That's right,
Colm McNeese.
Yeah. Very good.
Brendan Rayborn and Chris Carney and can't think of the drummer's name, but I'd be familiar with two of the boys. We had them on as well. But Pat's a genius.
Are you going to in August, Sons of Cream are playing. Did you see that?
No, I haven't heard
The
about
son,
that.
it is in McHugh's bar in Drogheda. Son of Ginger Baker, not exactly a son of Eric Clapton, but some kind of relation of Eric Clapton, and a son of Jack. I can't think of his
Jack
name.
White, not Jack White, is it? Jack.
You know who I mean, anyway.
Yeah,
it's Jack and Jack Bruce. Jack Bruce.
I'm annoyed now.
Drogheda.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just
We'll have to go to
Facebook
that.
it, like because it's
I
not
wonder
so
if
like
the son is mad as Ginger. John Bonham couldn't swing a bag of piss. Like, what a comment to come out with.
Is that what he said?
Ginger said that. Yeah, no harm. Like, Ginger Baker was unreal. And I'd live and die on this cross, but he was no fucking John Bonham.
I loved when Jerry Lee Lewis arrived outside Graceland to challenge Elvis Presley with a shotgun to who the real king of rock and roll was.
I never heard that story.
yeah. He was mental. So
That could have ended in a great ball of fire.
Yeah, Jesus. Can you imagine the crack them boys had though? Like, I remember
crazy.
like in the green rooms and stuff. Like, say it like, I know it's not green rooms back then, but they would have mingled. And
You had said last night, I'm sure these lads get a great kick out of going to festivals to meet up with old
like
friends.
big festivals.
yeah.
So imagine them back in the day, like, you know,
Well, it's
Johnny Cash
interesting.
bumping into whoever, or
Yeah.
someone saying, I can't wait, we're going to
see
have
you.
a
Oh, yeah,
pint,
we'll
or
be
we'll
in
go for a
Paris
session. Yeah, we'll be in Paris together, or we'll be in Berlin, or we'll be in Texas. So
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I think a lot of bands don't get a chance to see other bands at festivals as much as they'd like to.
like you had said about Glenn Hansard when you went to
Yeah, I got
Bonnaroo.
to see Glenn Hansard backstage at a festival in Tennessee called Bonnaroo.
Okay.
We went, a few of us from RD, and Glenn was playing with he was
once from Falling Slowly.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
Markas
yeah,
Howard. Yeah.
what he was married to her. But he was playing one of the smaller stages. At the headline act that weekend was Metallica, Pearl Jam,
and Kanye West. wasn't
Kanye
it?
West.
It's a weird mix.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like Glastonbury
Yeah.
thing. But Glenn Hansard was playing, so we saw him kind of during the day, and of course Irish lads. Someone brought a tricolour on. He's like, he's actually Irish, like no, he's like, you know,
Plastic
we were like,
paddies.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
Irish. So he does the set right, and finishes up. He goes, oh, where's the Irish lads? And we're like, oh yeah, come on up, like, and we're like, oh fuck. Backstage,
Jesus.
he goes, lads, just put the phones on the table. Let's just have a beer. Just,
Yeah,
don't-
relax,
Don't
like, yeah.
call me. Don't be a
Yeah,
dick. You know.
yeah,
We're like, no,
yeah, yeah.
phones out. Who is here to see? You know. We're like, oh, Metallica, Pearl Jam. Oh, he says, I'm fucking mad to see Metallica. He goes, but I have a gig in Chicago. I remember Mo was saying, he said, I have a gig in Chicago tomorrow. I might cancel it. I don't know what to do. He was so down there.
But it's true, like, because
they're only people at the end of the day.
That's it too. Yeah, it's like it's funny you say that. They're only people at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But they are, even when you interview somebody, do you know what I mean? Nobody's above you. Do you know what I mean? They're doing a job, they do it well, and they give a lot of people a lot of pleasure. But like, you have your own job, you have your own life, you do just as important things. And you shouldn't. And I think they'll have more respect even for you to go, rather than you being like, oh my God, you're so
We've talked about that ourselves
Yeah.
with certain things. If you were to interview your heroes, it's to talk to them like a human.
Yeah.
You know what they were interested in.
Yeah.
We've often said, being huge fans of Metallica,
Yeah.
if we were to meet any of the boys out of Metallica is probably the last thing you want to talk about to them.
Exactly,
They've lived
yeah.
it for 40 years.
And they probably said the same, you know, asked the same questions.
Yeah.
They love Thin Lizzy.
Yeah.
You'd want to talk to them about Thin Lizzy.
Tell me about Leonard Skinner and how much you love Leonard Skinner, because they love Leonard Skinner as well.
Judas Priest.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
the old new
The
wave of
backdrop.
British
Remember
heavy
we learned that
metals.
story?
Yeah, the Thin Lizzy one.
Yeah, they have the last
Hetfield.
ever backdrop that Thin Lizzy played behind.
Oh, really?
In front,
Yeah.
in front of behind one of them.
Jesus,
Yeah.
right, okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. I've interviewed Bruce Shields, and who would have been in a band called Skid Row with Gary Moore.
Yes.
And you know, you're there interviewing him, and he keeps going on to Facebook challenging Sebastian Bach's Skid Row over who owns the name to Skid Row, like, because I think
In
he
front of
sold the
everybody.
name. Yeah, in front of everybody. Like, he's done it. He doesn't wouldn't mind me saying this. He's done this regularly. Like, I mean, he does this like, you know, once every few months. Lovely man, and played with, like, if you think about who he played with, like, I mean, Phil Lynott was in Skid Row for a while. Yeah, and then
Bruce
you know, we had
Shields
Gary
actually
Moore.
played the Shirley Arms stage at the festival a couple of years ago.
No way.
Yeah,
In
I
Carrick.
remember going to see him. My mother saying to me, if you're interested in guitar, you'd better go in and see this guy.
Yeah.
And he had, you know, like the bandana, the
Yeah.
headpiece and everything, and just rocking
Yeah.
away. I was like, who's this guy? And he was unbelievable.
Who
Oh,
would
he'd
have
be
been some of the
brilliant.
biggest acts that played in Ballyshannon?
Oh.
Depends what biggest act is, I
Oh,
suppose.
no,
But
Yeah.
It's a good question, and it depends on your music taste.
exactly, it's a tough question.
Because there was a guy who played called Eric Gales, who's like a master guitarist, but I wasn't familiar with his stuff
Eric
at all.
Gales is
This year?
absolutely phenomenal.
Last year and the year before that. Now, but I wouldn't have been as familiar with
Yes.
the stuff. And it's an international festival, so again they'll bring in like the Wolf from Holland, or there's a woman Urja.
Who's the American guy this year? He was there and he was blown away by it.
Oh yeah, I wasn't at that gig. I heard he's brilliant.
He was in the Big Tent.
Yeah, that was on the Friday.
Right.
I missed that. I was in the Big Tent mostly on... I did Johnny Gallagher on Friday in the Big Tent, and then I did all the pubs, because the pubs are brilliant.
Yeah.
And then on the Saturday and Sunday I was in the Big Tent. And one of the things that is incredible if you ever go to Ballyshannon, the Big Tent gigs are phenomenal. But you can have just as much crack in the small pubs. It's all the gigs are within like half a mile of each other.
It's only a
Do you know what I
small
mean?
town,
It's
like.
a small town with one hotel. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're spoiled for choice. There's that much going on. You'll never cover it all. There's about like 10 gigs going on at the same time for 3 days.
And is the pubs, because unfortunately I've never witnessed it and I will go one year, but is it like impossible to get into these pubs? Is it like
Some.
totally wedged?
It depends on the band following, but there was this band I recorded before, and nobody knew who they were. I was at Ballyshannon, my first Ballyshannon. They called it Zach Schultz Band, and they're from England, right? And they launched into this song called Bullfrog Blues.
Oh,
by Rory
yeah.
Gallaghers.
Yeah, I know.
And I was like, did you ever?
Yeah.
But anyway, they did it with such an intensity. They blew the socks off the place, and within like 2 years then they're playing the Big Tent. They released a song called Ballyshannon Blues. It made them. They're over in America now. Yeah, but in terms of huge bands, it's very, very interesting. Like, I mean, you would have had your Horse Lips, I suppose. They wouldn't be the biggest band, though. I mean, Can't Heat in terms of name, but I mean,
It's personal preference, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's a tough question.
yeah.
Go back to the pubs, Marcus, that you might know. Like, would there be, like you just said that story, would there be people in the pubs like kind of scouting nearly for talent? For the
A bit, yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah, or even in terms of who's going to play at our festival
Next year, like the Big
next
Tent
year,
next year.
like yeah, because there's like a Larry Kenny festival, Belfast festival,
but
whatever.
as in the pubs in Ballyshannon, like, would they be in scoping to see talent for?
Definitely, I mean, definitely, and you get some new bands too, but also you get a lot of regulars. Like it depends on what the bands are playing, because at a festival like that, you want a little bit of Rory anyway. You don't mind original stuff at all, like, but you want some.
You want
So
your
that's
take
kind of
on
where
it.
you're coming in as well
Yeah.
to it, like, but the standard of musicianship, like, you know, you're walking away from it going, oh my God, why don't I hear more of that everywhere?
That's the feel. That's exactly the feel I got when I started listening to this stuff. I'm like, I was trying. Like, I do a lot of driving, and I'm like with my mouth open, going, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, like
Why have I not
How
listened to
do I
this
not?
already?
How have I not put this on?
like that album, the Irish Tour. What got me into it was there's actually a film documentary of the performances.
Yeah.
And it was originally meant to be a TV special, but they thought the footage was that good. They're like, let's make this into like a film. And it is. It's what I love about it is the documentary itself is authentic, because it's not like. It's like if to do any cutaways, it's like, well, let's show a seagull flying in the ocean. Let's show a bit of like Belfast in the middle of the Troubles. Let's show a bit of what it looks like when Rory Gallagher goes up to the Blarney Stone, and do you know what I mean?
Was it the Macroom Festival as well, where he jumps out of the car and he's running up the road?
That's
and he's,
right, yeah.
And he's going on stage.
I think
and someone's like,
they're late
best
or
of luck,
something.
Rory. And he's like, oh yeah. And he's like tuning the guitar as he's walking
No
up.
way.
And
Yeah, and
next week he just goes on and bang, away they go.
Just the way.
everyone said how friendly he was. Well, he used to hug people a lot. Like, but he was a lonely man. Like, I mean, he songs like A Million Miles.
Yeah.
The lyrics to it are actually. So I think that gets actually underappreciated because the guitar works so good. But some of the lyrics that he has, like I Fall Apart and A Million Miles Away, are just beautiful in terms of like, you know, he's there going to this hotel bar is full of people,
Yeah.
but you know, I'm sitting here in my misery. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so I'm here, but I'm not here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's like I say, it's authentic and it's a very adult look on life. And I think when I was 18, I wouldn't have had the ear to appreciate it as much. I think it's only when I got older.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that's...
We had a great conversation about that last night, about the rawness and the power after Tom Morello's
Yeah.
tribute to Chris Cornell. We started to speak of some of Cornell's work.
Yeah.
And his power and his rawness and his delivery
He was amazing.
within his lyrics. And
Yeah.
we're just saying the same thing of, you know, the suffering with the mental health of bits and
Yeah.
pieces,
Yeah.
and what people want to debate about that is another issue. But to say,
How you can fight that too, though, like
Yes.
how people, how you
how
use
you
that
can exercise
energy,
those demons
Yeah.
through the form of music. And
but then to come down off the stage, it must be horrendous for these people.
I think so.
yeah, as you said, if they're very lonely and performing is one of their biggest outlets,
Yeah.
then I'm sure it's very tough when they can't perform.
But even like
Yeah.
the small bit that I
exactly.
did research, Rory, like he hated not being on tour.
Yeah,
He-
touring was his life. Like,
And
yeah.
he also, from what I read, was like the studio albums drove him crazy.
Yeah. No, he did though, like do recordings with like his heroes, like Muddy Waters, where he was like playing like a guitar on the side, like
That's
that's in the
right.
70s and stuff. Like he did like that, but like, yeah, I think he liked the freedom to
Freedom
experiment.
to express himself on stage.
And it's like Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix never played the same song in the same way every time he went on stage.
Yeah.
Gallagher was the same. And the thing about how he delivered it, like he was giving the performance of his life every night. Like if you ever look at any of the live albums that he's done, especially in the first, let's say, 15 years of the solo work, in my opinion, I mean, he's given everything on stage, absolutely everything, and he's not being all sort of like bullshitty rock star on stage. So he's like, this song is called something and it's by Tony Joe White.
Yeah.
Or like one of the songs on that is As the Crow Flies.
Yeah,
As
that's
the
a
Crow Flies.
classic
They
one.
come.
Yeah.
That is class.
it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That
That is
and
class.
Tattooed Lady would
Yeah.
be probably my
Is that
pick.
his song?
No, it's a song by Tony Joe White.
That's
He
right,
introduced
yeah.
it. But
Yeah.
the thing that really depressed me as a guitarist was like, I thought there was loads of guitars in it. And then I watched the video. I was like, oh God, it's just one.
Yeah.
Shit.
It's like you have some of those moments.
Yeah.
No more than watching Clapton a couple of weeks ago playing with his eyes closed, looking
Yeah.
at the sky.
Yeah. And you'd be there like super concentrating,
Yeah.
going, hang on a second now.
As Ribsy said to us early on in the day, like he quoted Pat McManus saying like, these guys just mastered the guitar
Oh, totally.
a long time ago.
Well, like as we had said ourselves, the guitar just seems like an extension of Pat's body.
yeah.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It is. It totally
And
is.
Rory
He's a
was
master.
absolutely
Yeah.
the same. Like
Yeah.
It is.
Rory expressed himself through that guitar. Like
Oh, definitely. And it would reach, for a lot of people who are into him, it would reach levels that words couldn't express, if you know what I mean. It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I feel that. I know exactly what you would have done there.
like we
right?
Yeah,
said
there's
earlier,
a
with
one-
the feeling of being at the gigs, then that like, he threw that feeling at you.
When I film Band of Friends doing Million Miles Away, I told Jerry this. I was like, no offense, I'm not filming you. I'm filming the audience behind me who are losing their shit. Like they're in floods of tears, singing their ass off because of what that song means
Yeah.
in terms of emigration or losing a loved one.
Yeah.
You know, that they're a million miles away.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, it's got such resonance for such people, like, you know. Let's see, what else have we got there on that? Is Going to My Hometown on that?
We have Cradle Rock, I Wonder Who,
Tattooed
Tattooed
Lady.
Lady.
Well, Tattooed Lady is a classic.
Yeah, Too Much Alcohol, As the Crow Flies, A Million Miles Away, Walking
But Who's
on-
That Coming is a really underappreciated one.
That reminds me of John the Revelator by
Oh yeah, it is a bit. Yeah.
yeah.
I think there's a lot of similarity there. But even so, it's brilliant. But
That's
yeah.
not a dig at the boys. It's just
it's
back on
brilliant.
Bank on. I can't read my own writing.
I think there's another one on that. I'm not sure if it's on there or not, but Going
Could
to My
be.
Hometown he has, right? And it's like, I think he plays a bit Lonnie Donegan or something. And it's just this real upbeat kind of jokey one about him going to his hometown. But like the audience just they just go nuts to it. They just go absolutely nuts to it. And actually, that's in the it is in it or it's in the documentary of it because that is all the footage of him in Belfast.
Right.
So it's they kind of cut when he's playing Going to My Hometown with the audience going nuts to like armored jeeps and stuff like that driving around Belfast.
Okay.
And they show like all the houses that would have been burnt or whatever. You know, it was really well done without giving any commentary. You know, on it. It was just going, this is it. This is what it looks like. Make up your own mind.
Was it Cork, Dublin, and Belfast? Is that what it?
Cork, Dublin, and Belfast. Yeah. And I even love the fact, you know, you got this mad wee Cork promoter at the circle. Ladies and gentlemen, Rory Gallaghers. You know, I just love it because it's like, right, it's Irish, great. Yeah. Here we go. I don't think he liked flying a lot, so he kind of. He didn't go international too much, but like Slash loved them from Guns N' Roses. Slash absolutely, I hadn't played with him, but he spent an awful lot of time in Germany and in Europe. Another great album of his is Rory Gallaghers Live in Europe. Yeah, that's also known as a classic. That's well worth checking out.
Must check that one out.
That's
for
really
sure,
really good.
Definitely.
But like with him. Like if you're only just discovering him, you'd probably be a bit like me in the sense that you don't know where to go. You don't know which songs to pick, you know, or you might like a few and then maybe one or two just don't resonate with you. But some of them, if you keep digging, you're like, oh my God, this is just gold.
There's not a dud on that.
Yeah, no, there's not. No, that's one of his best. That's one of his best. That's why I'm here. Because it's a great album.
And we got a great insight into everything there, didn't we?
Yeah, that was absolutely class. Marcus, thank you very much for sharing.
Yeah.
No problem at all.
Will we do a few questions, Luke?
How about we go to question time?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
You kick it off, Luke.
Right. Can you recommend a book, an album, and a film that everyone should read, listen to, or watch?
Okay. Like, it doesn't have to be like a story.
Your own preference or whatever.
Yeah. I love the book, two books. I love Atomic Habits, which is just like how to build up habits for yourself.
I have it.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. And that's just for anybody who doesn't know, it's if you're really bad at like making habits, it's like make your habits smaller and you'll gradually improve it day by day. Like if you want to go exercise and leave your tracksuit trousers and your trainers out by the door, so it's easier for you the next day to do it. Love that. Film, Big Trouble in Little China. I know it's big, dumb and stupid, but I love the fact that it is. I mean, there's far more arty, brilliant films that I've watched and appreciate, but Big Trouble in Little China I always have a soft spot for. And what was the other one?
An
album. Favorite album of mine would have to be, just in terms of like how many listens I've given it, would be Highway to Hell by AC/DC, which I know everybody's heard, but it's just, I don't know. I've just
it's iconic.
I've played it more than any other album that I ever have, so that has to be a favourite album. I mean, I can be pretentious and pretend it's somebody that you never heard of, but AC/DC's Highway to Hell is definitely it for me.
I love the way, it's like Highway to Hell's your favourite. High Voltage is probably.
Oh yeah, I love Night Prowler actually at the end. It's a bit disturbing what happened with the song in reality with the serial killer guy, because there was people killed or something to that song, Richard Ramirez. But it's a brilliant song.
Jesus, I didn't know.
Without that, if you can separate that in your head, it's like, this is a great song. Do you know? But like I have that many albums, but I have to say that I think music for me has been brilliant in the sense of I get to do the filming, I get to teach music as well. And but the one thing that I get more out of it than anything is not necessarily even that I'm teaching somebody a song, but it's when they go, you know, I'm 73 years old and I've travelled from Malahide down to your class in the Spur store to learn guitar, or I'm coming to your lessons because my kid's hyperactive and I got ADHD and this is my 1 hour to myself. That is gold. That is gold. And I'm sure even for musicians that we talked about, they hear things like that. You know, that's priceless.
Yeah, definitely.
You know,
Marcus, do you remember your first and last concert that you attended?
Yeah. God, it's not. I'm going to lose all rock and roll cred now. No. My first ever concert was Gloria Estefan when I was like 9. A Rhythm's Gonna Get You. It was not very cool at all. But I suppose the first proper gig would have been Sunstroke in '94, which was like where you had Red Hot Chili Peppers and Therapy and Terrorvision, and Ice Cube was at it.
Where was that?
In Dalymount Park.
No way.
Wow.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Soundgarden did '95 actually.
Oh, yeah.
But
Did you do the Trip the Tip?
no, I was the wrong age.
Right. What year was that?
That was the early '90s. The Trip to Tip, wasn't it?
Rage played that.
Did they?
Rage Against the Machine.
Oh, well, hang on. It would
Or
be the
did
right
they
age.
play Fela?
I think it was the Trip to
Was
Tip.
it Trip to Tip? It was
Was
like
that not the
91. It was around
Yeah.
the self-titled album with
Right,
the.
okay.
Mm.
We all
picture of
used to
them up,
get.
the
Were you guys big
self-immolation.
grungers or?
I was everything.
Yeah, look, I would listen to a big mix, but
Yeah.
I would like Pearl Jam,
Yeah.
Nirvana.
Ah,
I
me
would have went
too,
through
me
a big
too.
Nirvana
Oh, me too. Yeah. Yeah.
phase when I was younger, especially for listening to Dave Grohl behind
Yeah.
the kit.
Oh yeah. No, and how he's grown as a musician as well.
Yeah.
But like, we all used to be like. I don't know what it was like for you, but it was like, oh, you like Kurt Cobain after he killed himself. You're not a real fan. You know, it's so stupid, like, you know. Or, you know, you see some kid, you know, that was younger, that was 12 years old with Rage Against the Machine t-shirts. Like, what are you raging against? The washing machine.
Name one song.
yeah, you know. But like, we were like 16 or 17 sitting out to 12-year-olds, which looking back now is like, who is the worst? We were the worst, actually. Than they were. We were more pretentious than anybody.
Giving the 12-year-olds a hard time.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
they're wearing a hand-me-down t-shirt from their cousin anyway.
And the kid's like, I'm only 12, you know. Give me a break.
Bugs on parade.
Yeah.
The last concert I think you told us was...
The last concert was Smashing Pumpkins and Weezer, and that was really, really good. Best concert ever by a mile. And I was really surprised. It was Leonard Cohen. It was the second gig after he had retired for about 10, 12 years, being some Buddhist monk up the mountains or something. And then the manager ripped him off, and then he's like, shit, I better tour again. But anyway, he came on stage in Kilmainham jail, played for 4 hours.
What?
Man in the 70s, right? 4 hours, right? Because, and the thing is, you'd be there thinking, oh, Leonard Cohen, that'd be very depressing. It was the opposite.
Yeah.
It was like
was
really
uplifting, I'm
uplifting.
sure, yeah.
When he did Hallelujah, Jesus, people are crying all over the place. And like, I mean, I love my rock concerts,
Yeah.
but Leonard Cohen was incredible.
Wow.
That's unreal.
What is your go-to takeaway?
Like, food.
Yeah.
Oh, Nando's.
Nando's.
Love a good bit of
shit.
Nando's.
Good shit.
What was it? And I'm one of those who would eat it with like the hot sauce.
Oh.
You know, like where your tongue melts. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Are you a fan of Boca Grande in Dundalk?
Yeah, it's lovely actually. It's
Brilliant.
lovely.
You've yet to sample that
Where's that?
burrito spot. It's off Clanbrassil Street.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Down
near where
one of the
Jocks.
side street.
Oh, there were Jocks.
Yeah.
Is it near Jocks actually, or am I wrong? Where Jocks used to be. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, it's lovely. I have actually. I think we did it all with Just Eat. But yeah, it's really, really nice.
Great job.
Shout out to the boys in Boca Grande.
This show is being sponsored by. No, we're messed.
I wish. It'd be about 5 kilo heavier.
But
Eating me way through season 2 and 3.
yeah.
If you had, last question for me then, Marcus, if you had the power to get 5 artists in a room to record your dream album, who would they
okay.
be? Dead or alive?
All right. Okay.
Name out the band.
Yeah. Okay. I'd probably have John Wilson on drums. I'd probably have John Entwistle from The Who on bass. I'd probably have let's see, on rhythm, Malcolm Young from AC/DC, and on lead, which are, I mean, you can't go wrong with Hendrix, and then singing Bon Scott or Bon Scott.
That's brilliant. Great
Good.
lineup.
That's a good lineup, yeah. Happy with that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I passed the test.
You passed the test. You passed the test.
After Gloria Estefan, I was going down the hill. I had to rescue it, you know.
Marcus, as a guitar player,
Yeah.
what is that sound for you when you think of your perfect sound?
Oh yeah.
If you think
Oh,
of
you know,
an
no,
album
no,
or a
no,
song
absolutely,
or
absolutely.
a guitar and an amp combo.
Absolutely. I love some B.B. King in terms of what he does with the guitar. Never mind the voice. What he does with the guitar. I think it's a bit like Peter Green from Fleetwood Mac.
Yes.
It's like, even like Need Your Love So Bad kind of smoothness of, you're like, oh God, this is like, you know, Bailey's dripping on down on chocolate ice cream on my brain kind of way.
Yes.
Which is a weird, probably musical description, but that's how I would see it. Is it's a braingasm. Do you know what I mean? That you're getting, and it doesn't necessarily have to be really, really loud guitar, but when you get the crunch, it's but the right kind of crunch. Not that it's too crunchy, not like it's Pantera level crunchy, but when it's like maybe Free doing it all right now, for me, that's the perfect. Or Lynyrd Skynyrd, actually.
Eric Clapton, John Mayall,
I'd
and
be
Blues
definitely,
Breakers.
definitely classic rock would be
Marshall and a Les Paul.
Marshall Les Paul. I have a 100-watt
Yeah.
Marshall amp in the house, and I have to have an attenuator because
Yes,
you play it and
otherwise
it's like an
you'd-
airport, like, you know.
Yeah.
But
Mine's actually getting serviced. That's why the
oh
cab
really?
is
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Oh Jesus! You got I have the same one actually.
Flexi
Yeah.
is in Jimmy's getting a
Fair play. But like
once over.
But you know, before you get them, you'd be there on YouTube, like spending like weeks, months, going, which amp? How can I make the decision? And you try it out. I love the sound of them. I think I do love the Boss Katana in terms of what you can get out of them. I really do. I think they're very, very underrated amp, especially if you just want a load of different sounds without buying the pedals. Like, I mean, they're great.
And I have to say a massive shout out to a friend of mine and also another musician and artist that I've played with over the years, Keith Coleman, lent me his AC30.
Oh, really?
And I couldn't get over how good it is.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Jesus.
absolutely class.
Right.
And I wouldn't have thought I would have enjoyed such an amp, or I never would have gravitated toward one. Plugged it in and played it. Clean sounds to die for.
Well, that's it. Like you can get some people who will tell you must have this equipment, you must have that equipment, and some of the equipment they think shouldn't work really does work very, very well. Or you can play like. I tell the guitar students as well, because they'll be going like, you know, what kind of guitar should I get? And you're there going, look, when you're beginning, absolutely, you know, okay, don't get the cheapest, but like, you know, here's some makes of a guitar, but just because you get like a guitar that costs $3,000 does not mean you want to play it any better.
Exactly.
It's like golf. It's like just because you buy expensive golf equipment, you still have to hit the ball.
Talking about that the other day.
Yeah.
So like even with the Gibson ES335, like, I mean, you know, if you are having difficulty playing a minor scale on a cheap guitar, it's still going to be an issue on an ES335 Gibson, you know, so.
I would totally agree with that. I was telling Gavin when I was in Paris, I had visited Matt's Guitar Shop, which is fabulous store, really nice people, nice staff, and I was lucky enough to play their original 1958 Gibson Carina V.
Oh, wow.
And it was just absolutely insane.
Really?
But for the price of it or whatever, you know, it would be lost on me as a guitar player.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Versus, I actually talked to Michael about this. We talk about Joe Bonamassa, for example. You give Joe Bonamassa an Epiphone and you give him Murphy Lab Collector's Choice Les Paul, the book going to sound like Joe.
I got it. Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. One thing that was interesting in interviewing a couple of musicians was some musicians said to me, the Pat Farrell, that guy who died like 2 weeks after I interviewed him, he said, if you just want to play at home, because he opened up for B.B. King, he said, if you just want to play at home the guitar, that's okay. You just do that. If that's what you want, that's what you want to do. You don't have to play for an audience, as long as you get some kind of pleasure out of it. That's all that's needed. So don't ever feel that you have to. And if somebody ever like puts you down in terms of your guitar playing, okay, you can take on board maybe a little bit of what they said, but don't let them stop you playing it. Because I mean, you teach music. You must have come across people who some family member has said, "Oh, you can't play," and that they have internalized that for 20 years. You know, and then they come back to you. You know, and
for sure, especially with some kids I teach are very good singers.
Yeah,
and you know, there was one girl in particular I thought, and she's an absolutely amazing singer. I mean, ridiculously good, and she would have been like bullied in primary school or whatever, and was told, you know, oh, you think you're great, just sing, you can't sing, and then, you know, a shell of herself. I was like,
it can knock
and I remember
anyone.
saying it to her one time, was like, if I can give you one piece of advice, don't let anybody tell you that you can't sing, and just keep singing. And she's gone on to get vocal coaching and training since, and I was thinking, I was like, Just to get
Fair
up and
play,
do
yeah.
something. She could
Yeah.
be a name that we'll know in 5 or 6 years' time.
Yeah, but should
Well,
even,
like Janice Joplin, she got bullied ferociously when she was younger. You know,
Lady Gaga as well.
Lady Gaga
Yeah.
as well. And then if you look at somebody like Shane McGowan, like he's not your standard kind of singer.
Yes.
You know, like loads of people would have told him, "What are you doing?" Like I'm
Out on
sure.
the
And he
sights and
just-
that,
I'm sure
no,
a lot
yeah.
of people said that about Jim Morrison in his day. You know, a lot of people
Absolutely.
like to clown on Jim's voice and bits and pieces, but for the style,
It was brilliant.
absolutely suited
brilliant.
it down to the ground.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That was a hell
was
of a
class.
chat. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And again, Marcus,
Marcus,
thanks for
thank you,
coming
you,
over.
actually, yeah.
Absolute pleasure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
really appreciate it, and great knowledge about Rory. And yeah,
Just one thing, if anybody's looking to see any of the documentaries, the music documentaries, if you go on to Markas Howard, and even if you type in like blues afterwards, it's on that channel. I've got a load of documentaries up. I've got one on Pat McManus, I've got one on Band of Friends, which is people who played Rory Gallagher, one on Taste. There's a number of them, Johnny Gallagher, and a load of footage from the Ballyshannon.
yeah, excellent
festivals.
footage. I was watching it during the week. Absolutely, check out Marcus's work on YouTube. Yeah, it's top quality, and it gets you a real insight into Ballyshannon. And get to Ballyshannon.
And if you don't mind me saying, I'm usually the guy who does the interviewing, so you guys made it very, very easy and very, very nice to do. So
Thank
you.
you very
Thanks,
much, Marcus.
Really appreciate it.
that.
Yeah, really nice. So
And anyone in the Dundalk area looking to learn a bit of guitar,
check out
the man himself.
That's it. All right, that's a wrap.
That's us for this week. Marcus, it's been a pleasure.
Pleasure. Now.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Marcus.
That was this week's episode with Markas Howard. Gavin, that was a great episode.
Brilliant. A great insight into especially the Rory Gallagher stuff. As we were talking, like I only got into that stuff recently, and it was great to get a bit of feedback from a man that was at so many of the festivals up in Ballyshannon. Like, I put the goo on me to go next year.
Yeah, I'd definitely love to go next year. I thought it was brilliant that he got to interview so many great people that was associated with Rory, some of his former bandmates.
Yes.
And he talked brilliantly and had an extensive knowledge about Rory's touring.
Yeah. And an overall cool fella. So, yeah, if you're enjoying the podcast, we'd really appreciate if you can give us a like or a share, tell a friend, and maybe if you're really feeling good, maybe leave us a review. So, until next week, Luke.
Until next week, see you later.
See you later.
Au revoir. Adios, amigos.